Roads. Where we're going, we don't need roads. Simcity, the city simulator. I chose this game for a topic not just because of how influential it is to gaming as a whole. SimCity practically invented the objectiveless simulator genre, but more so, what SimCity did was it introduced the concepts of city planning to people who had largely never heard of it before. Most people are aware of zoning because of SimCity. SimCity was even used in schools to try and teach kids how cities function, which is not a thing that was possible beforehand. Not only that, I chose to discuss this game in particular because I have a lot of personal history playing this game. SimCity was one of the first video games I ever played. This game was responsible for fostering an interest in how cities are laid out. As a kid, that was something that really fascinated me, and it still does today. So before we actually get started in playing, I figured we'd take a look at what actually comes in this box. This is the version from, I believe, 1991. It's not the original release, but it is the color Macintosh version of SimCity, the city simulator. Design and build the city of your dreams. Yeah, I always liked how the box to this was designed to look like some sort of city-making machine. You got all the buttons on the front, and then on the back you have that sort of old-timey pegboard electronics backplate. Let's take a look at what you get inside. We have, of course, the game on 3.5-inch floppy disk, both the base game and the extras, which includes the terrain editor, scenarios, and cities. We have the nice, thick manual. One of my favorite parts about this game is the way the end of the manual is actually an entire essay on the history of cities and city planning. It's multiple pages long. I've actually read through this whole thing. It's pretty good. This is a pretty good essay. It even has a bibliography. Yeah. I miss when games came with manuals like this. We have SimCity's infamous copy protection sheet, which I'm actually not sure why this is included because this version of the game doesn't have copy protection. Maybe it's just added in as a nice bonus pack-in. I do think that the paper they used on this was lighter than in the original version. I remember it being a much darker red to prevent photocopying. We have a list of cities and their populations as of the late 80s, as well as these little symbols would show up on the screen of the game, and you would have to find the corresponding city or population so that they made sure that you actually had the physical version. This is pretty common in games of the time. One of the more amusing things about this is Karl Marx gets his own high score for some reason. Not a very high score compared to some of the other ones, but it's an interesting little Easter egg. I'm not sure why they saw fit to include Karl Marx in the SimCity all-time high scores, but you know, I guess he was a fan. Addendum to the user documentation. Additional reading. Let's include additional reading. It's listing additional books to read on city planning. That's interesting. Terrain editor documentation, list of keyboard commands, and the software toys catalog. All of the early Maxis games included these, and these are a lot of fun. It's just a list of the different Maxis games that you could get around the same time as this game came out. I'm gonna order form. It'd be kind of funny to see what happened if you actually filled that out and mailed it in. And try to order the Amiga and Atari versions of video games to see what happens. And you got the registration card, which... Ooh, come on. Like the catalog probably wouldn't actually do anything. I would not be surprised if that is no longer the Maxis address. Actually, I don't even think Maxis exists anymore, so... probably wouldn't do anything. And the system info and reference card. Games used to come with these quick reference cards to help you better understand what the graphics are actually telling you, because the graphics weren't super descriptive. Anyways, put that all back the way it was. Unfortunately, I will not be able to use this version of the game because this version requires 16 color support, and my computer that I'm using to capture video does not actually support 16 color video. So we will be using the later SimCity Classic patched to a newer version which does support 256 color video or better. So with that out of the way, let's go ahead and boot up the game. So I already have SimCity installed on here, and it's patched with the 2.0 version. If you want to run this game on a more modern machine, that 2.0 patch is going to be pretty important. You can get that from Macintosh Garden along with the actual game. You don't need to use the box, although I have the box, so I installed it from the CD and then got the patch from here. But either way works. They have multiple different versions of the game. You can run these on an older Mac like I'm doing, or you can get, there's emulators, you can get like Sheep Shaver and stuff like that. Since we already have it installed, I'll go ahead and launch the game. We'll create a city. What should we call our city? Simware. It defaults to Simware. I don't know if we want Simware. Let's go with... we'll make our city a utopia. The basic SimCity gives you a terrain generator. You can keep regenerating terrain until you pick what you like. It includes a number of different rivers. If you keep regenerating enough, eventually you get an island, a nice square island. But I think we want a river. Let's find a nice river. That looks great. There we go. We'll use this terrain. And there's that MIDI tune. That's a part of the 2.0 update. The original version of this game did not have music at all. And considering that there are only 2 MIDI songs in the entire game, I'm just going to go ahead and turn those off. I don't want to be competing with the game while I talk. So, we can get started building our city. One of the things I've always liked about this game, this version of the game in particular, is that you can actually build a game that has no roads whatsoever. So in keeping with our utopia, we can build a city that's just entirely rail. So one of the things I always like to do in these games is put my power plants and heavy industry towards the corner of the map. We're going to go with nuclear because it's cleaner. We're building a utopia here. We got to go with the clean energy. Well, it's the cleanest energy you can get in the game. Unlike SimCity 2000, you can't build a road to another city, but you can kind of make it look like it. But it's entirely cosmetic. SimCity 2000 would add city connections. Now let's get some commercial. You gotta get a nice park in there. So here, the budget screen in this game is also incredibly rudimentary. You just have a general tax rate. Later games will let you break out the tax rate for in different zones. The mayor's out to lunch. In this early version of the game, you also only have 3 budget expenditure items: transit, police, and fire. Okay, I get it. The mayor's out to lunch. We're running in the red, but we're gonna go with these figures. Hopefully we'll get in the black soon. I mean, real life governments get to exist on money they don't have. I don't understand why the Simcity government won't let you do that. Congratulations! Your village has grown to town status. You now have 2,000 citizens. Way to go, us! People must really like living in Utopia. Finally, we're making money! We got our little urban center going here. So one of the really frustrating things about this game, this version in particular, is that in order to not have, like, an absurdly high crime rate, you basically have to have a police department like every other block. I'm not sure why SimCity decided to advocate for a more authoritarian level of policing, but, you know, I guess it was the 80s. They hadn't gotten rid of all the lead paint yet. So unlike later versions of the game, this version did not have any sort of speed controls. You basically sit back and watch the city go at its regular speed, which in the early days can mean a lot of sitting around because you don't have enough money to really do much and you have to wait till next year. That's what kind of happened here. I've got $7. But fortunately, you don't have to sit through all that because I'm going to be cutting out a lot of the waiting. Oh no! Right as I say that, we get a monster attack. A large reptilian creature has been spotted in the water. There's a trail of destruction wherever it goes. They got that Japanese writing in there. I think they really wanted to say that it's Godzilla, but it had to be a lizard-like reptile that's legally distinct from Godzilla. And you just see this little red blob just crawling around down there in the water. Those nice 80s sound effects for the monster growl. Yeah, so his AI is not that great. Oh no, maximum pollution. I found it's incredibly difficult to avoid pollution in this game. The game will pretty much require you to have industrial zones, and industrial zones are only ever polluting industries, so you kind of... Really, all you can do is make sure that your pollution is on the edge of the map and not actually surrounding the places that people live. Oh no, he's going right for the church. Oh no, bye-bye apartment complex. I guess he missed the church. Oh no, bye-bye commercial building. Ooh, this is a problem. I don't have a fire department. I should build a fire department. Although, just my luck, the monster's gonna decide to demolish my fire department. Yeah. Well, he didn't actually damage it. Oh, that fire down there is out of control. Man, this guy will just not go away. Huh. Well, I guess the fire department technically still exists, even though it's partially ruined. Well, if we can get enough money, we can start rebuilding from the rubble. It's always kind of frustrating when these disasters happen early on in a game when you don't have a good tax income yet. Later on, you end up getting something like $1,500 a year in tax revenue, so it definitely hurts a lot more getting hit now. But fortunately, you don't have to wait for us to rebuild. Okay, so a little bit of a jump, but we got a nice city going now. We've cleaned up from that unfortunate monster attack. The residents demanded a stadium, so we built them one. Right adjacent to the little town center here. We've even got another little industrial area down here complete with a seaport. A little boat shows up. So yeah, things are going pretty good. We've got nothing but rails. The rail-only setup still works pretty well. You got the tram running down here. No traffic whatsoever. You can't have traffic if you don't build roads. Although the game still pops up with messages every now and then trying to tell us to build some. I guess even Simcity was built with the assumption that people would be filling their cities with cars, but it works perfectly fine if you decide not to. That is, in this version of the game. You can actually import original SimCity cities into SimCity 2000, and these tracks become non-functional because in that game you actually need a rail depot in order for people to get on the train, whereas apparently in this game people just step on it's like having nothing but a tram. People just step on the tram and step off the tram. So yeah, that's the original SimCity. It may not look like much now compared to modern city builders. I mean, you compare this to City Skylines where you have multiple different transit options and zoning options and all sorts of stuff like that. But you know, for 1989, this was pretty groundbreaking and ended up launching the entire Maxis brand of computer games that were less game and more just what they called software toys. Just a digital piece of code for you to play with on your computer. I must have played basically every other Maxis game that's ever been made, or at least most of them. I've always really liked the idea of just these objectiveless software toys that you just kind of fill in the blanks with your own creativity. I always enjoyed that quite a bit, and I hope you've enjoyed watching this video. If you like this video, I hope to do more video game technology kind of things in the future, so it would really help me out if you'd like the video, subscribe to the channel, maybe even leave a comment and tell me what your experiences were with these types of games. Anyways, See you next time.